All right. Well, hello and welcome back to the Money Wisdom Podcast, powered by Johnson Brunetti. We're glad you're all with us. I'm one of your co-hosts, Nick Colantuono. I'm a certified financial planner up here in our Boston, Massachusetts offices. As always, I'm joined by my colleague, my friend, Jacob Doser. Jacob, why don't you introduce yourself to the viewers and the listeners?
Yes, I am not Eric Hogarth, as if you're watching these sequentially, you've seen historically very recently. I was out sick, but I'm happy to be back in the studio with you, Nick. Looking forward to our conversation today. And if you're watching soon after this release, happy holiday season to you and hope that your season is going well. And if you're not, we're looking forward to the conversation. Timeless truths, if we can do it.
We sure are, as always. And we are true professionals, Jake, as you know. And as any true professional would, we are making this episode a timely one, and it's all about New Year's resolutions.
Yes.
And many people's New Year's resolutions, mine included, year in and year out, without fail, are always to get back in shape. But we're not talking about physical fitness here. Many of our clients like the idea of approaching the new year with the resolution of getting in financial shape, right? So what are some steps that we can take when it comes to addressing physical fitness, meeting with an advisor? I've got a few in mind, but Jake, I'll just throw these at you because I'm very interested to hear your view on all this. Often one thing that we're talking about on the onset of really any relationship is just determining if we're the right fit to work with people. So, topic number one here is all about shifting your financial mindset. What are we getting at here? What are these conversations looking like with your clients?
Yeah, I mean, when you're thinking about your mindset, it's what are the targets that you're aiming for? What are your goals and objectives? What is the definition of success with your money? When you're 30 or 40, like Nick and I are, closer to 30 than we are 40, don't age us too quick. We're in grow baby grow mode. The definition of success for Nick and I is let's put our money in there and see how fast it can race to the top. And the volatility of the market doesn't scare us. Why? Well, number one, we're in this industry for a living. But number two is because we're 33. I'm 33. Nick, you're 33. Is that right?
36.
Oh, my word.
Well, I whisper when I say that now.
Closer to 40 than 30. Wow.
My knees hurt. Yeah.
You look better than I do. I don't know what you're doing. My wife tells me it's my lack of moisturizer on the face, but I digress. We're at the place where we've got 30 years ahead of us before we retire. And so that translates to the level of risk and volatility isn't at all concerning, and it's really appropriate for us because we have such a long time horizon. Whereas with the folks with whom we meet, they're approaching retirement or who have recently retired. We are retirement planners. And what that means is the only folks we talk to that are our ages are the children of our clients. And that's by design. Our goal is not to be generalists. Our goal is to be specialists in retirement planning specifically, because your relationship with money is changing. It's arguably the largest financial transition of one's life, going from earning a paycheck and saving for the future to creating consistent income to supplement Social Security and pension. And because your relationship with money changes, the mindset, the definition of success, the way you measure success and failure totally changes. It's no longer growth only. It's growth and preservation and income creation, and therefore taxes. And it's a totally different ballgame.
I completely agree. Well said, my friend. So let's just keep it moving here because you said everything I would have and then more. So that's good. Two, you need to decide if working with an advisor makes sense for you. So what are we getting at here, right? Really, it comes down to finding someone you understand or someone furthermore who understands you. I always say that at Johnson Brunetti, what makes us unique is not that we just work solely in retirement planning and that we're experts in this exact phase of life that our clients find themselves in, but all the other things that you just alluded to. It's no longer about just growing money as much as possible. We need to be tax conscious. We need to be, up to date with gifting strategies and legacy planning and expenses and income and, all these other things that, as you mentioned, Jake, when you're our age, we don't really have to worry about that, right? The income needs are met from our paycheck. And, therefore the objective of our savings, of our investments are for, really to be there for us maybe 20, 30 years down the line when we're going to be relying on that. So it's all about deciding if working with an advisor makes sense. What would you submit to folks who are listening, who are maybe on the cusp of determining, do I need an advisor? Should I have that conversation? What advice do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes back again, just like we're relating with our money differently and the standards of success are different. The objective of an advisor in retirement planning is a different objective than your stockbroker or your, what we call in the industry, robo advisors or a wealth manager alone. The scope of our work is different. A lot of times folks think of the term financial advisor and they associate that with a lot of different roles. They might think, well, I have a financial advisor at my 401k provider. Well, in reality, you don't have necessarily a financial advisor as much as you have somebody who sold a 401k plan to your employer and gave them a basket of investment options and said, here you go. And that is not to diminish that role. It's just that person's role. Their primary client is actually the employer. It's not the employee, the consumer, you, listener. It's their job is to give you an ecosystem and then you can choose the investments. Maybe they say, hey, if you were looking for more growth, this is the fund. If you're looking to be less risky, this is the fund. But the advice is going to kind of start and stop there. Maybe you're looking for the person who says, I want to do all my own planning, but I just want to buy a product. Well, that's probably not the right fit for us, right? Our niche, our area of expertise is in the planning. You can go buy an investment A, B, or C. Is that investment appropriate for you? Are you getting enough bang for your buck? Is it too expensive? Is it too little expensive? How are you going to extract the money without paying too much in taxes? And the list goes on and on. So our value is not in finding a bunch of funds that are better than the next guys. No. That is not the definition of success for us. Our planning is, how do we execute, not to make you rich? Nick has said this before, maybe I'm stealing it from you, but it's to not make sure you don't go broke. Our job is to say, you've saved this money. How do we extract it in the best way as possible? And so beyond trust, expertise, the thing that's most important is narrowing on the focus is, are you looking for a broker? Or are you looking to buy a product? Are you looking for a menu of choices? Well, those things aren't us. Our job is to do the planning is, let's choose investments that supplement and complement your lifestyle in retirement, because that's a very different approach than here's a bunch of investments, figure it out.
Yeah, that's a good segue. So say someone is looking to have that conversation. They want to come in, they want to sit down with Jake. They're possibly their new advisor. What should they bring? How should they prepare for that meeting? What's that conversation going to look like? What's the outcome going to be? Talk us through the process.
Yeah. So when folks sit down with us for a complimentary consultation, there's one of two outcomes. Sometimes folks just come in and they've got a couple of questions and they're really not looking for anything beyond just a little bit of sound advice from somebody who's going to shoot straight with them. And that's fine. But a majority of our appointments, I'd say probably 90% plus, those complimentary consultations are with folks who are looking to say, how have I done? Am I going to be okay? Am I on track for retirement? And so if your goal is to say, I want to make sure that I'm on track for retirement, not only am I going to run out, but also how can I live my life the best way as possible? If that's the spirit of your question, however it manifests specifically, that's the type of thing that we can help with. When we're meeting with folks, oftentimes there's a second meeting as a result, which is sort of part two to our complimentary consultation process. During that first meeting, we're looking at your situation and saying, what problems do you see that you're concerned about? How do we address them? Are those valid problems, or are you better off than you think you are? What problems, more importantly, do we see as the practitioner that maybe you haven't even identified yet? Are those going to rear their ugly head down the line of retirement and put you in a place where you're taking too much risk? You're at a place where you can lose too much and the amount of risk you're taking just isn't necessary anymore. Maybe you're taking too little risk and so you're going to lose to inflation. Maybe you have yet to address taxes and getting the money out and not getting hosed in taxes is your priority. Maybe figuring out how to take this big nest egg that you've saved your whole life for and convert it to income for life. Maybe that's the concern. That's the type of thing that we're trying to strike at the heart of. So that first meeting is getting to know your situation. And the way that you can allow us to help you the most effectively is bringing in things like a recent tax return, bringing in a statement from each of your investment account, knowing your numbers, as I've heard Nick say so often, knowing how much is coming in every month, how much needs to go out every month to keep the lights on. Tell us about your aspirations in retirement. Do you want to just hang out and do your own thing? Do you want to sip Mai Tais on the beach in Florida? Are you looking to travel the world? Do you want to gift money to your grandkids? Tell us about your legal documents. So in a nutshell, tax return, investment statements, income, expenses, assets, liabilities. But we're going to look to have a broader conversation because it's not just the numbers. How do we knit together the numbers and your aspirations of retirement and find the tension in between? That's what that first meeting is really all about.
It's all about creating a plan. And I think what the biggest concern for a lot of folks is, look, Jake, I've been working for 30, 40 years. I'm used to having my paycheck come in, and I never really had to budget because I knew what was coming in was enough to cover what was going out. And I was able to save and travel and, make gifts and do the things I want to do. What scares me about retirement is the idea of that paycheck stopping. Because you know as well as I do, the world we live in does not stop, around us, right? The gas bill keeps coming, the mortgage payment keeps coming, the grocery bill keeps coming. So just because you no longer have income coming in does not mean that your expenses, stop. So how are you addressing income planning? Not just for today, for your clients who, I retired and I need income covered for the next, 12 months. And maybe that's a conversation you're having every 12 months with that client. But what about 12 years from now? How are you having this conversation with people who are maybe 70 today and retiring, yet they need to plan for income in their 80s, in their 90s? To walk us through that process, because that, to me, obviously is a very challenging thing that we have to help people navigate.
Oh, it's the thing that we have to lead with. Retirement planning comes down to 5 core pillars, if you will. The first and foremost has to be income planning. It then is complemented by investment planning, tax planning, medical planning, and legacy planning. And so when we're thinking about the income planning, we're thinking about how do we supplement guaranteed income streams like Social Security and pensions with the portfolio that you have in a way that's sustainable, in a way that is flexible enough to change as your life changes, in a way that accounts for inflation, because the cost of stuff goes up over time. Everyone watching recently knows that to be true over the past few years, especially, right? So we're finding this balance and then also giving you the permission to spend that money you've saved and worked so hard to build up. I met with some folks earlier today, and when I met with them, I was shocked at how poorly they thought they had prepared in contrast to how well they actually did prepare. Well, why was that? It's because they had done a good job saving, but didn't have any earthly idea of how to unwind this ball of wax. And in a moment of fear, they took all their money out of the market and left it all in cash. And so they exchanged one huge danger, which is market corrections, for the huge danger of not earning any interest and losing money to inflation. And what those decisions were based on was fear, is I don't know what to do. And so I'm going to do the only thing I can, which feels comfortable. It's just put it in cash because, but that's a lot like burying your head in the sand. It stops you from seeing the danger, but it doesn't mean the danger is not gone. And so that's really what we're looking to address is let's take the fears. Let's balance enjoyment of your money with also being a good steward, being wise with the handling of your finances. And let's figure out how to get this money out to you in a replicatable way so you can live the life you want and not worry about it and allow, hey, this is the person who deals with that. Same like it with an oil change. I don't change the oil on my car. It's not because I probably couldn't figure it out with YouTube. But it's just that, it's going to take Jiffy Lube 15 minutes and it's going to take me 5 hours and I'm going to make 15 mistakes along the way and it's going to cost me twice as much. And that's not what I went to school for. That's not what I do for a living. I'm going to let them take care of that. And that's a lot of times how our clients think is, hey, I need somebody who can deal with all this mess that has to be knit together and puzzle pieced together to create a cohesive plan. That's what we do.
So talk to me about that client that you met with. You said they took all their money, they put it in cash, and I get it. The reality of retirement is you get to a point where you're done working, you're done earning, you're done saving. All the money you have is all the money you'll have. So I
Yeah.
understand that desire to protect it and preserve it. But how are you helping them understand what their comfort level with risk is, or what it
Yeah.
should be, or how do you navigate that?
Well, I think the unsaid truth of many of the clients with whom we work is that their definition of success is, how do I take the least amount of risk as is necessary to make this work? And so one of the first things we have to figure out is how much risk is necessary in order to make their plan work. The better you've saved, the less risk you need in order for your money to go far, right? Because if you don't need to drive across country, well, then you don't necessarily need a fuel efficient car. You can maybe even deal with a half a tank of gas if you're just staying around town. Similar to your investments, if you're not looking to spend gobs of money, or you've got a lot of money built up and you don't need a lot of extra growth, well, then let's understand that. But then let's also recognize that retirement is a journey and not a destination. And so with these folks specifically, I explained, hey, look, we need to start segmenting this money based on its purpose. So if you've got Social Security and pension, and we know, I'm just going to use a round figure, you need $2,000 a month, well, we need to start thinking about bucket number one, the first 3 years of retirement. How much needs to be set aside in that bucket that's at low risk in order to create that $2,000 a month? But then over time, inflation will come up. So we need another bucket. That bucket number two comes from, maybe years 4 through 7. Maybe that can handle more risk because you're not using it today. But it also can't take as much risk as bucket number 3, which might be for money that you don't need for 15 years from now, right? So there's a recognition that different phases of life, of retirement, will require different cash flow needs. And if they require different income needs, then they also call for different investments. And then finally, those folks, they can have safety because they've done such a good job saving. And so there's some peace of mind money set aside. There's some money set aside that's risk-free for the purpose of getting the best risk-free rate of return as possible, and also letting their heads stay on the pillow at night. And also creating income in the bad stock market years. Because if you drop a knife in a kitchen, you don't want to catch it. Similarly, if the market's down 20% and you can avoid withdrawing from it, that would be better. It'll mean you'll recover a lot quicker. So none of that's rocket science. It's intuitive, but it requires knitting a bunch of things together. And that's really what planning is all about.
Yeah, well said. Sounds like it requires a plan. And if anything, folks, hopefully this episode is a good sort of view into the conversations that we're having with people. If you want to have that conversation, we encourage you to reach out. We would be honored to have it with you. Jake, I want to give everyone a resource that we have, and it's one of our kits. We produce a lot of these kits because they're just so critical to the conversations that we're having with folks. And, I understand a conversation like this can seem intimidating. So this is a good way to get your hands on some meaningful material that'll just help you get you in the right mindset and say, okay, is this a conversation I'm looking to have? So I want to offer everybody our Are You Ready to Retire starter kit. I know it's a mouthful, but you can get that by texting us. Text the word KIT, K-I-T. Text it to our team, 800-757-0436. We'll get that out to you ASAP. Again, it's our Are You Ready to Retire starter kit. It's going to help you get in the mindset of thinking about this next phase of life and asking yourself some of these potentially tough questions. But at the end of the day, you have to face the reality of your finances. And I couldn't think of a better New Year's resolution for anyone out there. Even if you think you're already in a fantastic spot, improvement opportunities can always be made. So again, if you want that kit, text us, KIT, K-I-T. Text our team at 800-757-0436. We'll get you your Are You Ready to Retire starter kit. So Jake, here we are, our mailbag minute. And when I say minute, I mean minute. So we're going to need to chop here. So first, we have a great question about retirement planning. And this is actually from Marge up here in Wellesley. She says, I'm closing in on retirement. I still don't have a true financial plan. What's the best way to get started?
One step at a time. Call us, call another firm if that's what you feel is most appropriate, but meet with a retirement planner first, not a product salesman, not somebody who can throw a insurance solution at you. No, somebody who's a planner first. Sit down with them with your finances and let's talk through it. Step 1 is let's look at your numbers now and we'll worry about step 2 after that. One step at a time.
Amen. This question here is from David and Pam. They're in West Hartford. They say, are you a fiduciary?
Short answer, yes, we are fiduciaries, meaning we're obligated to work in your best interest, or simply put, if I were you, this is what I would do.
All right, here we go. Last one. This one's actually from Eric and Meg. We have another common question that we see. This one's about fees. How much does it cost to have a financial advisor?
It depends on the relationship with the advisor that you work with. If you're working with an advisor who sells a product, they might generate a commissionable product. Whereas if you're working with an advisor where they're managing money in the stock market for you, the most common scenario is that they're charging a percent of the assets that they manage. With Johnson Brunetti, we do a little bit of everything. And so the way we make money is either by being paid a finder's fee, if you will, from companies that offer products that comes out of the pocket of the company that offers the product, not the client, or by charging a percent of the assets that we manage. We charge anywhere from 0.75 all the way up to over 1.5%. The normal industry standard is 1 to 2% per year. That's kind of how advisors make money for the most part.
Yeah, well said. I think we just broke a record for the mailbag minute. So kudos to you, Jake. Nice work. So folks, again, while you're with us, we'd like to offer you the Are You Ready to Retire Starter Kit. It's going to help you think about all these things that get thrown your way in this next phase of life. The ultimate goal of retirement, folks, is not just to retire. You want to stay retired. That's really what it comes down to. So as everything Jake was talking about today, as far as meeting with fiduciaries, coming up with a plan that's specific to you, making sure that whoever you're going to get advice from is really approaching it in the mindset of what's best for you. All these things have to add up. It's almost a big puzzle, and you don't want to try to solve it all on your own. So to get your hands on that kit, text us, KIT, text our team at 800-757-0436. We will get you your Are You Ready to Retire Starter Kit. I couldn't think of a better time. I couldn't think of a better place. I couldn't think of a better resource to be offering everyone as we enter the new year. So folks, for myself, Nick Colantuono up here in Boston, and my partner, Jake Doser down in Connecticut, and really for all of us on the team here at Johnson Brunetti, we hope you had a happy holidays, and we're really hoping that you have a happy new year and on to potentially bigger and better things here in 2026. So we appreciate your viewership, your listenership, and as always, we will see you next time on the Money Wisdom Podcast.
Johnson Brunetti is a marketing name for the businesses of JB Capital and JN Financial. Investment advisory services offered through JB Capital LLC. Insurance products offered through JN Financial LLC.